Welcome to Jazz Time. JazzTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to purchase it at the lowest price anywhere online, click on the link in the description below to buy it at JazzTime.com. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Rolex Oyster Perpetual 41 in stainless steel with the blue dial, reference 124300. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the history, where it stands with the rest of it, of the ones similar to it in its lineup, then talk about the case dial bracelet movement, try it on, and give you my final thoughts. So let's start. The history of the Oyster Perpetual. It's about as long as the Datejust. It's been out for, I don't know, 50 plus years, something like that. The Oyster Perpetual is the line right under the Datejust. The Datejust is the most iconic and famous line that Rolex makes, and they make the most amount of Datejusts. It's their bread and butter, and that's usually considered the baseline, but there's actually another line that's even, I don't want to say lower, but it is lower, but it's still Rolex, so they're all still top notch. It's one step lower because it has one less complication. On a Datejust, there's time and date, as in 1 through 31. On an Oyster Perpetual, there is no date. There's only time, 3 hands, hour, minute, seconds. And so therefore, this is the actual base model of Rolex. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad. As we're going to go through on the rest of this review, it's still packed with all the things that you come to expect from a very good Rolex. In fact, all Rolexes are good. This is the baseline, and it's also good. And I'll go through that with you on when we start going through the review. Now, the history of this watch is it's been out for a long time, but I would say from my experience that the recent Oyster Perpetual has only been out for 15 years. This reference is 124300. The reference before this was 114300, and that one came out about 15 years ago. And it's more or less look like what you see here, with the satin finish case, the thicker bracelet, the stronger buckle, and the nicer case as you see here. This is what I considered a modern Rolex. The older one was modern, it just had a few tweaks. But before that, the watches looked almost completely different, in the sense that the bracelet was way thinner, smaller, and they had much smaller sizes. Okay, so that's a little bit about the history. Now let me tell you where this one stands with the rest of them in this lineup. Now the Oyster Perpetual 41 is the largest of the Oyster Perpetuals. They used to have a size 39 that got discontinued about 5 years ago in around, I think, 2020 or something like that, or maybe a little earlier. They also make, so right now they make a 41, a 36, which is also for men. Now some men like to wear smaller watches. The Oyster Perpetual is going to be the 41 is going to be the biggest of all. And they used to actually even make a 34, but they stopped doing that about, I want to say, 3 to 5 years back. So that right now they're making a size 41 and 36, and that's basically comes out to small and large for men. All right, and actually women can also wear 36. I've seen plenty of women do it, and it doesn't look bad at all, especially for a woman who likes to wear large watches. It gives a little bit more presence. Now for women, they have size 28, 31, 36. So that's basically small, medium, large. And right, as you can imagine, you choose the size that best fits you. Okay, but since we're talking here about this, about the 41, I told you I was going to give you some idea of how it fits in with the rest of the lineup. Now, they used to make the 41 with many funky colors. When it first released in 2020, they did a lot of funky colors. I think they had like pink, turquoise, yellow, green, some funky, and along with their base colors of black, silver, blue. And they discontinued all of those. They all those funky colors. They were just seasonal items, as in for a couple seasons. And then now they have the special dials that they have is just the celebration dials and the green dial, and the rest are all base models, which is the basic silver, blue, black, which is not a bad thing because those colors tend to match and more available for you to wear every day. Okay, so that's where it lines up with the rest of the lineup. And as I told you, the Oyster Perpetual is the base model. It's the very beginning. It's the cheapest. Let's put it that way. The retail price is around 6,000 and change. We have it at jazztime.com for a little bit more than that, but they're still hard to get because they're not very expensive, and they're not highly demanded after watches, but there's still quite a bit of demand for them. Not crazy high, but some high. All right. Okay, so now you know where it stands with the rest in comparison with the rest of the lineup. Now let's go ahead and start talking about the case. Now the case is 41 millimeters, as I told you at the beginning of the video. That's from my thumb to my index finger, the 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock position, longest distance across the bezel. It's still made with the same steel that all the other Rolexes are made of, so that nothing differs in that. The case, though, however, is slightly different on the Oyster Perpetual. It's not all high polish. The top of it is actually satin finish, and the sides are high polish. And it's actually a little bit thinner too, because if you look at the profile, it's not 12 millimeters thick. I think it's more like 11, because it doesn't have the date function, which is one less complication, and it makes sense. They'll make it thinner because there's not as much information that they had to pack into this movement. The movement doesn't do as much, just simply tells the time and date, which actually can be a benefit, because then you don't have this asymmetrical dial that has a date cyclops on the 3 o'clock that makes it kind of look asymmetrical, and you don't have this funny hump. So it also lends for a cleaner looking watch. I've actually had people buy it because they like the cleaner look, and I can't disagree. The clean look makes it look symmetrical. From the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you see it straight down the middle. It's even on both sides, so it's also a nice way to think about it. Okay, but anyways, we're talking about the case here, so that is the case. Now let's go ahead and talk about the movement, or let's move on to the bezel. Now the bezel this is the only option that you can have as a base model. As you can imagine, it being a base model, there's not a lot of things that you can do to it. On the Datejust, you can do many things to it. You can change the bezel, the dial, the bracelet, all sorts of things on it, right? In a bunch of different materials. But on the base model, you only get one option: stainless steel brushed with this dome bezel and this bracelet. That's it. The only thing you can change on a base model is the dial, and that's it. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. As a base model, it's what it's intended to be. Sometimes people actually buy more than one watch. For example, a fancy watch plus one Oyster Perpetual, just so they have something they can kick around, do the dishes, walk the dog, play some sports, whatever. At least they have something that's not so expensive, right? I mean, it's still expensive, don't get me wrong, but it's not so expensive where you have to like mortgage your house. So it's reasonable. Okay. All right. So we're talking about the bezel. It's domed, and the benefit of that is that it doesn't. It's not like a diamond bezel, which if you hit it, you could break the diamond bezel, or like a fluted bezel where you could damage it. So the dome bezel is quite nice, and it's a very practical and not very flashy bezel. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to the bracelet. The bracelet actually is updated from the previous generation. It's an Oyster bracelet. It only comes in Oyster, but the clasp is actually a folding Oyster clasp with a 5 millimeter comfort extension. And what does that mean? It means that you could change the length of the bracelet without using any tools, by simply using the Easy Link right here. And that changes at 5 millimeters. Why would you want to do that? Well, because sometimes your hand gets hot or cold at night, day temperature outside, and that means you can change the size of the bracelet without using any tools. Now the older versions, believe it or not, they did not have this feature, and this actually became a problem. People would buy the watch and then they make it fit perfectly, and then at nighttime, or whenever their hand got a little bit bigger, then it'd be too tight and they'd have to take off the watch. So Rolex fixed that problem, and they probably didn't fix it on the first generation because they thought, well, there's a base model, we're not going to put those added features. If you want that added feature, you got to buy a Datejust. But Rolex figured out, well, you know what? We are Rolex. We got to make watches that are meeting our standards. So therefore they did that. And now it meets that standard. Okay, now let's move on to the movement. The movement is also updated. It's a 3230. The old movement was a 3130. It has a nicer finish on it. I've seen it. It looks very nice. And the power reserve is higher, 70 hours versus the old 48. So there you have it. There's a movement. Okay, let me try this watch on my wrist. I'm 6 foot tall. I have a wrist size of 7.5 and I weigh 200 pounds. As you can see, this 41 millimeter really looks good on me. I really think those who have a wrist size of 7 inches or larger could benefit from a size 41. If you have a wrist size smaller than that, I suggest you go with a 36. But for those who have, and many do have a wrist size of 7.5 inches or larger and are like 200 pounds or greater, or maybe even I would say for those who have a size or maybe 150 pounds and a size 7-inch wrist or bigger, they probably could benefit from a 41. I mean, me, fall right into that range, and I definitely would be wearing this 41 as opposed to the 36. Okay, my thoughts are it's just a great everyday watch that you can throw around. It's not super flashy at all, and I actually like it in the non-flashy colors. Why? Well, I do think those colors are great, but as an everyday watch that you're going to be wearing day to day, I just don't think that wearing like a red or yellow watch really is all that great. You know, it's like it's a little too much bling or flash on there, and to me it just doesn't make sense. But a blue, black, silver, these base colors I actually think is better because most of the time we're not wearing super flashy colors like neon yellow or really bright red. We're wearing neutral colors, navy, dark green, gray, black, white, beige, these neutral colors. We're not wearing these funky colors. So to have a watch that matches that every day, it just makes more sense. So anyways, those are my thoughts. If you want to buy this watch at the lowest price anywhere online, click on the link in the description below. To buy it at jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to model as seen in video, click on it and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.